Hey everyone, it's me, Donna. I'm making this video uh, to let everyone know that I have finally found some distant South Asian and also Italian ancestors. Because in my last CRI genetics DNA video, I mentioned that I had no idea where my South Asian came from. I think I might have had stumbled upon some Italian ancestors in some other parts of my tree, if I'm not mistaken. But just doing this has helped me narrow down more Italian ancestors. And so, yeah, I just wanted to kind of share what I have discovered so far with you guys. Okay, let's see. Let me go to the timeline. Okay, all right. According to the timeline, um, I'm supposed to have a Gujarati Indian ancestor 4 generations back from me. So that could be anywhere from a second great grandparent, I guess on back to like a fourth, fifth, or sixth great grandparent, depending. Because the interesting thing about the DNA is I've noticed it is usually within about 100-year range. So it could be off, give or take 100 years. But still, that's not bad. I mean, given that this company does not know me, they don't know anything about me, they just took my DNA and did the best that they could with their calculations and put it on a timeline. But as of yet, I have not found this closer Indian or Gujarati Indian ancestor, but I have found an on further back ancestor, and I believe it was within the eighth generation, and on maybe on further back. Let's see if I can find it. See, okay, right here. Okay, on their timeline, they got me with a Gujarati ancestor between 1770 and 1830, and then on back, there's more. There's even my Punjabi ancestors or South Asian ancestor, my Sri Lankan Tamil ancestors. Um, but for now, we're going to go with, I'm just going to say that this is probably within the eighth generation because, let's see, let me stop right there. All right, when I go on my tree, let's see, which one was it? I believe it is right here. Okay, Castleberry. Okay, right here. Okay, I stumbled upon a Ralph Martin Davis from, as it turns out, Gujarat, India. Okay, and he was born somewhere between 1675 and died around 1773. Okay, he came from India to Pennsylvania. All right, from what I understand, and from the information that I'm gathering here and there on the internet, is that he was from India, but then that his parents had something to do with the East India, the British East India trading. Let me go to it. Let's see. They were part of the East India company, trading company, and somehow or another they acquired him and brought him to America. And of course, back then they didn't have like official adoptions or anything like that. That stuff didn't come, as far as I know, that stuff didn't happen until later on, generations down the road with people. But somehow or another, they acquired him. I don't know what the circumstances were, but he ended up in America. I'm still trying to find out more information on his parents because I want to get it right. But it's kind of scarce, and you know I just don't want to mess it up too bad. But this is what I found about him so far. Um, and of course, I drew a picture of what I thought he might would have looked like. I don't know if he. Oops, where the my tree disappeared. Hold on, let me go back and get it. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, what was I gonna say? Okay, I don't know um any really any more information about him other than that. And I don't know if he married someone. I've come across someone by the name of Mary Barlow or Barlin. I'm not sure if that's who he married. That's just some of the information that's out there. Um, so I don't know if she was from India too, or if she was from the United States or England, or I really don't know anything about her. So if any of you guys, if this man's name seems familiar to you, and you think you might also come from him, please send me a message on YouTube or something, and we can kind of compare information, and maybe you can help me out. But that's just what I've got so far, and that's just kind of what I'm going with. Hopefully, I will stumble upon more information later on, but that's what I got for now as far as that goes. Okay, but like I said, as he's the only South Asian ancestor that I can find right now. So I don't know if any of these other closer ancestors are any of them, are South Asian or not. Most of them seem like they come, from America, and they, some of them have different ethnicities, such as German, and of course, British, and Irish, and Native American, and all that stuff. But I don't know, much further than that. Let me see. Okay, and as for some more Italian ancestors, let me click on this. All right, I noticed. Okay, the my ancestor Lanier Brewer. All right, I thought that name was an interesting name, Lanier, because that's not really a common name or a common first name that I'm aware of for a man to have. So I just thought that was, pretty interesting. So I thought I would just go up his line and check and see, go a little bit further. And lo and behold, I stumbled into Italians, French and Italians. Okay. All right. As it turns out, his ancestors on up here were Liniers. Their last names were Liniers. So I guess on, generations on down, they decided to pass that last name on to, some male's first name. So, and of course, that happened quite a bit in families. But anyway, as it turns out, uh, I come from a Clement Lanier, okay, who is the brother of a Nicholas Lanier. And let me show you right here. Okay, these men were musicians, and they were in the King and Queen's court in England. So they were well connected, and from what I understand, they were very talented. They played the flute and guitar like instruments. And what are those called? Let me see if it's viola da gamba is one of the instruments that Nicholas played. Okay, and like I said, his brother Clement, who is my ancestor, also played those instruments. Okay, so they were well to do. And they came on up the road. They came from Nicholas Lanier. Okay, there's I've noticed there's quite a bit of Johns and Nicholases within this family. Okay, all right, this family were from France. Okay, and there's even a rumor that some of them may have also came from Italy, And it had something to do with crusades, like a long, long, long time ago. There were some crusades going on, and something about people going from Italy to France, okay, and maybe even from Spain to France and all that. And then later on in France, there were there there were people being persecuted. I believe it was Protestants being persecuted by other religious groups, and they were murdering them and taking away their land and property. So a lot of them escaped to places like England, Norway, and other parts of Europe. So this family came to England, okay, and they married into the Basano family, okay, and the Basano family is the family that is known to have come from Italy, and they were very wealthy, well connected. Uh, from what I understand, they were merchants. They were into the silk trade and all that type of stuff. So they were very wealthy, very high class, all that type of thing. Okay. And the interesting thing is the Laniers married, uh, you know, they intertwined quite a bit with the Basanos, like cousins, married cousins, and all that type of stuff. And so, yeah, they were really entwined. These families were really entwined with each other, and they were both well connected, well connected with the royal family and all that. So that's interesting. And it's just like my ancestors that's on down the family tree closer to me. Unfortunately, some of those people married their cousins and all that. So, I mean, it's not anything new. It happened all the time. Not something I would be into, but yeah. So that's the information that I got from that. And let's see, a Nicholas Lanier married a Lucretia Basano, okay, and as far as I know, she was born in England. I believe it was. She was either born in Italy or England, but her father definitely was from Italy, and he came to England. Her father and her mother. Her father was Antonio Basano. Okay, and like I said, they came from a long line of merchants and traders and all that type of stuff. There's still a lot of information that I've got to find out and plug into my tree, and I hope one day I do get around to doing it. But this is what I've got so far. And I decided to go ahead and do drawings because I looked at this Nicholas Lanier, and I thought, well, I bet his brother, some of his brothers and his father and all that. I have a feeling that they all kind of favored each other. It's just a inkling that I have. So I decided just to play around with the image and go on back up the tree, because I think they were pretty much reddish, brownish color hair. So I thought I would just kind of play around with that. And so, yeah. But anyway, that's the information that I have so far. But oh, yeah. But let me show you on the timeline the Italians that are on my timeline. Let's see. The Toscani Italians. So I noticed that keeps popping on down through here. So it kind of fits, you know, somewhere between the 40 to 100-year range. So it fits perfectly. And to think that had I not taken this test and realized and had this stuff broken down for me, I would not have thought to probably look into people who were from certain regions like Gujarati or Gujarat, India. Had this test not showed me that, because the other test that I had taken that mentioned India or South Asia, they would either just say South Asia or they would say Punjabi, which I do have Punjabi, and it is in the timeline. But to see other bits and pieces broken down, like the Gujarati and the Bengali and the Sri Lankan. So I know that I have those as well in my family tree. That's a huge help when, finding ancestors. And that means that, I won't cancel out an ancestor when I come across them and I see that that they were from certain regions where Punjabi people were from, or, Sri Lanka or something like that. Uh, but if I would have just stopped when I took the ancestry.com test quite a few, like a few years ago, not quite a few, but just a few years ago, um, because all that test showed me was that I'm British, Irish, and Scandinavian, pretty much. And of course, initially they had me with German, but then they took that away, which was stupid. But I probably wouldn't even believe it had I just went with that and just stopped at that DNA test. I would have been like, what? You know. So I'm so glad that I went further and took more and more tests so that I can get down to the truth of what is really there. And this uh, test right here has been very helpful. That timeline, it's awesome. So I'm so glad that I took this test. It has definitely been a big help. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not just, downing ancestry.com, because it's great for close kinships. I would say kinships back to like the fourth or fifth great grandparent, especially with their through lines feature. That is so cool because, you can just match up with your cousins and stuff. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. For instance, let me go down here. Let's see. Okay. Let's take Lanier Brewer, for instance. Okay. Let me go to the through lines. Click on that. Open it up. If it will open up. Come on. All right. As you can see, it's showing me kin to a bunch of people who also descended from Lanier Brewer as well. So not only is he my fifth great grandparent on here, he's quite a few other people's fourth and fifth great grandparent, and maybe sixth or seventh or whatever, depending on people's age and generations or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of people on here. I don't want to keep going, whoops, because I don't want to give away other people's private information or anything like that. Um, but yeah, so as far as that goes, this company is great for that. But anything further, it's just not cutting it. And my advice to them is to please open it up on further back. Like, show people the smaller pieces of their DNA, the smaller centimorgans that we have, instead of using only like 5 to 6,000 of it, because it meets the 7 centimorgans or above, or six, whatever it is that the final thing actually is. I know on the cousins matches, it only goes down to like the 6 centimorgan, and they won't match you up with anybody who has anything below that you're kin to. It won't show that. So I'm assuming it's either 6 or 7, somewhere in that neighborhood, as far as your ethnicity. Okay. So they're not going anywhere below that. So that's leaving out a lot. I mean, a lot, like anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pieces of small DNA that you have, that they know that you have, that they have processed, that is in their actual raw DNA report, because I've taken their raw DNA and ran it through other companies, and it does show up quite a bit of that smaller stuff, although not as good as 23andMe's raw DNA, I will add. Okay. So, but my thing is, why don't they open it up and allow us to see it? Instead of using the old, well, it uses up a lot of database space, and causes lag time and whatever. There's ways. Yeah, this company makes lots of money. They have people who are smart, who know how to set things up on the back end and set it up to where there won't be lag time. Because if these other companies can do it, this company can do it. And they can show people those smaller pieces of DNA. So I'm not understanding, that. And if it's money, like I said, why don't they just charge another small fee that's affordable to unlock this and show on another page the deeper ancestry that people have? If that's what they want to do, I'm sure a lot of people would be okay with that. You got to do what you got to do. And I understand, companies got to make money, but it's just disappointing when they make it look like that is the final cut on your DNA, and I will show you. And when they tell you that this is your story, this is your DNA story, and they claim they can go back, several hundred, even as far back as 1,000 years on your report, but all you get is something like this, and and you've taken other tests, so this is not all the truth, and this is barely 150 years back. Like, that's kind of disappointing. So, but anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox and get off of here, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye.